Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. How are you? How you feeling? Have you felt any better overnight? Have you woken up this morning with any kind of a calmer mind? I haven't. I've been thinking all night. Well, we didn't get off the stream last night until it must have been nearly 2 o'clock in the morning. In fact, it was gone 2 o'clock in the morning. And then we spent another hour afterwards in the background chatting, all the guys on the stream. And yeah, I think everybody's really fed up. Everybody's really worn out. Everybody's really kind of asking reasonable questions, right? Park the agendas. There's a lot of agendas that are going on at the moment at Tottenham in the fan base, right? It's been this way for ages on YouTube, from everything from, previous managers that they didn't want sacked, therefore they're coming in with a negative stance on Thomas Frank that is now proving out. And so, people love to say, I told you so. People that were getting it on the short end of the stick, they were getting the kind of the sharp end of other people's opinions about you for having an opinion that's different to them. Well, when that kind of opportunity presents itself to throw one back, you do. And that creates like a kind of toxic cycle of everyone at each other's throats all the time. At times it's coming across like people are almost celebrating their opinions more than they are celebrating the problems or the team itself, and it's really, really it's a really sad and poisonous environment. And I think that environment is also within the Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, not just the fans, but I think there is a massive problem, guys, a massive problem. And I wrote down a text. I put a WhatsApp message in earlier into my WhatsApp group. And I think it kind of summarized a little bit how I feel about it, right? And I think I said that there is a very dark cloud over Spurs right now based on impatience that stems from frustration, expectation versus reality around the perceived quality in the team and the perceived value in the ticket. And it stems from 6 years of regression from an artificial high under Pochettino. That I said it since, I think, guys, from the first moment that I started doing content 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, something like that, 4 years ago. I don't know how long ago it was now. I said the first sort of major takes I had was the worst thing that could happen to Tottenham Hotspur was to get to the Champions League final and then not win it at the same time as you walk into a new stadium with £1 billion of debt. Because it fundamentally reset expectations to unreasonable levels. And every manager since has paid the price for the impatience and the unacceptability of the regression to the mean. If I always use the analogy, it's like if you bought Bitcoin at the all-time high and then you see it fall 50% in value. Do you resent Bitcoin, or does it mean that that Bitcoin is not a good asset, a good thing to own? I mean, I'm not trying to get into a financial argument, but sometimes people resent situations because they've got in at the wrong time, wrong place, or because they are personally feeling a certain way about something because of the environment in which they have decided to participate in it. And I genuinely do think that Pochettino period, when we finished second and third with a fantastic team and an up-and-coming manager, where the baseline before Pochettino came in was fairly low, expectations were fairly low. We were a cup team that was on the up. The period from Martin Jol to Harry Redknapp, what he did, getting us into the Champions League, and then later Poch taking us through that progression, that procession to almost getting there at the highest level within the same 3-year period, a couple of kind of semi-title challenges for periods, Champions League final, and then from there, and then moving into a stadium that was, supposed to be the kind of final piece in the revenue generation jigsaw that allowed us to go, but no one really being clear as to how that was going to play out, right? Was it going to generate enough funds immediately to be able to then immediately throw the money to get us over the line when the opportunity was there, and then owners that didn't either want to spend the money or would make the argument that they couldn't spend the money because of covenants and because of the debt restrictions and all those things. And then since then, we've just kind of been fallen backwards, haven't we? Fallen backwards at the same time as a really poor Arsenal team have made progression strides up. And what results is a toxic fan base where successive managers have come in, and when they get the heat, when they receive the pressure of a fan base that is like furious with the fact that we're paying top money for top tickets in a top stadium, but we don't have the furniture to be able to compete, and a lack of willingness to appreciate those kind of variables, and the fact that you're not in control of your own destiny 100% of the time in football. Other things can come up. COVID, other teams getting new owners that have obscene wealth resources, and shenanigans with PSR and FFP that don't seem to have any kind of, any point in their existence at times. All of those factors result in this energy that I think it's really toxic at Tottenham. It's really toxic. And then you look around and you see other teams that are doing things like Brighton and Hove Albion. Like, what a lovely little team, lovely environment. It started with Graham Potter and then De Zerbi, who I'd love to see, but I think De Zerbi might be a solution because he's just a little bit. He probably thrives in that poisonous atmosphere, thrives in that toxicity. That's kind of his environment. So he might be a solution. Another solution might be that there needs to be a great reset at Tottenham Hotspur.
2025 has been an unforgettable year for Tottenham Hotspur fans as we saw our fantastic club lift its first European trophy in over 40 years. To celebrate our achievement, Tottenham Hotspur have partnered with the Coin Company, a precious metals specialist, to offer fans the chance to commemorate and remember our achievement by owning a limited edition 1-ounce silver bar. Beyond the aesthetics, silver is considered a fantastic inflation hedge, as well as being a key component in the manufacture of microchips for the AI revolution that we are all experiencing. And whilst this is not investment advice, there are plenty of reasons why you would want to own silver right now. And so why not consider getting one of these for yourself or for a loved one this Christmas time? Only 2025 will ever be sold. And if you use code Sean at checkout, then not only will you receive 10% off the purchase price, you will also be entered into a prize draw where one lucky winner will win a 1-ounce silver bar with the special certificate of authentication code 1882, representing the year our great club was founded. So click the link in the comments or the description and it will take you to the Spurs website where you can find more information. And from there, if you click to purchase, it will take you to the Coin Company website where if you enter code Sean at checkout, you will receive that 10% discount and be entered into that prize draw. So make sure you commemorate this fantastic year with a fantastic lifelong present for yourself or a loved one.
Whether that means new owners, but new owners will come in with new expectations as well. If those owners happen to look like, money bags, then they'll also have unreasonable expectations in short-term, viewpoints, short-term. From the strategy of the owners, they'll expect miracles very soon, and also the fan base will expect. We've got Shake Daddy and Shake Rattle and Roll, have we? Okay, then I need to see Declan Rice's immediately. I need to see Adam Wharton's immediately. I need to see Rodrigo's immediately. All of those things, and of course, there's the other variables again. For every top player that you need to come into your club that can make you close the gap on the teams above you, those teams are also looking at those players and also want to acquire them. There's no secrets left in football. The data management model that now everybody seems to employ means that, again, you have to pivot to this world of picking up every 17-year-old that shows one iota of talent, because you can't compete for the 26-year-old world-class players because everybody else above you in the pecking order is also looking at them as well. It's a really, really poor environment. And I'm not sure of the solution, but I'd love to chew it through with you, because I feel like there needs to be a factor. Somehow the solution for me is not just to go with another manager after another manager after another manager. You can see Thomas Frank is getting prickly with the press. You can see it. He called out the not real Tottenham fans to have a crack at, and he might be right, or maybe he should have said it's short-sighted. Does it really help? Your goalkeeper's already a bit vulnerable. He's under the pressure. He's not the best when it comes to coping with pressure. And then he feels like the wave, and he's got to stand 15 yards, 10 yards from people that are booing him and talking about him, screaming and shouting at him when the ball's down the other end of the pitch. All this in his ear. Does it help? No. Is it stupid? 100%. Is it understandable from people that are pissed off, that they want to vent and shout and let everybody know that it's not good enough? Yeah, it's understandable. A lot of things that are stupid are understandable at times, you know? A lot of things that are stupid are understandable. I think one of the things that the club needs to do, and I haven't said this before, but I think in this environment, it's becoming a little bit more apparent to me. I think one of the things that the club could do in order to bring expectations down around where we're at and explain that we need to rebuild, right? It is a rebuild, but not just like a rebuild of the team. We've got some young players that might become superstars, but they're not ready yet, clearly, right? There's too many inconsistent performances from players like Pape Sarr, players like Berghvall, players like Archie Gray, players like Destiny Udogie, players like Jed Spence. You know, there's talent for sure in all of those players. Udogie, Mathys Tel, whatever. But they're inconsistent because they're not polished. They're not there yet, right? So one of the areas that I think that the club could make a very reasonable approach here is to lower the expectations, is to essentially cut the price of tickets in half. You know, they're already seeing that they can't sell the tickets. There was like 5,000 seats that were still, or 8,000 seats or something madness was on the exchange, right? I always said before, it's a game of supply and demand economics. The prices will remain high as long as someone's willing to pay them. But clearly no one is willing to pay for these tickets at the moment. People are giving away tickets for free on Twitter. You know, they're giving them away for free because they're not going to sell them on the exchange. And, you know, they say, well, look, at this rate, I'd rather have some families, a pair, like a dad and his son or whatever, dad and his wife or whatever, go to the game for free, as long as you've got the CRM thing, than not go at all because you're still forced to pay 80 quid on the exchange for a ticket that no one wants. You know, the fans are coming together in that regard and saying, look, you know, I'm not going to use them, so have at it, kids. You know, see if you go and enjoy yourself. I think the club need to look at the situation with the fan base right now and realise that changing the next manager, and I'm not saying that Thomas Frank should or shouldn't go, because that's a decision that the club will make, and I think we have to talk about whether he's the right guy for the job anyway. But what I'm saying is that nothing will change at the football club if the next guy comes in. Even if you go and spend 200 million quid in January and bring in Ademola Lookman and I don't know, whoever, right? You go and bring in Edison as well. It's not. People make out to me it's mad. It's a madness where it has to be one or the other. It's either Frank is the problem, he's not good enough, or Frank isn't the problem. The players are shit. Like, the players are not that bad. We have some very top players in our squad. We don't have enough. We have a kind of a level depth in our team that makes it difficult to decide who your best midfield is, because there isn't that much between Bentancur, Pape Sarr, Berghvall and Gray, right? It's not like you have a world-class player here, a young player with absolute potential here, a mediocre player, and then a kid that's no good, right? You don't have, it's not like you have this obscene talent followed by weakness. It's kind of like a C+, B- kind of level of squad depth throughout, maybe a B+ level of squad depth. We haven't got any A-star students, right, in our team. We definitely need them, but that doesn't solve a tactical dilemma of why it is that we still haven't fixed, you know, despite we've been building the foundations of the football club. Spent the last 10 weeks, people that were on the Thomas Frank can do no wrong train, explaining away the reason why there's no creativity by saying we're fixing the defense first. And yet we're still conceding the same types of goal in every single game. The template was set in the PSG match, and it hasn't been plugged at all. And in some of the games where we conceded 1 or 0 goals, we could have conceded 4 or 5, let's be honest. So we haven't fixed the foundations. And then whenever we do throw more caution to the wind, For me, I think that the fact that we keep pivoting and twisting and tweaking our midfield options and telling them to float around and go wherever, if one of you goes here, the other one comes in. I had these concerns around Ange Postecoglou when he said the framework of the team doesn't change, but how it's applied, I'd sort of abdicate the responsibility of telling players how to play, let them figure it out. And so that's a wavelength conversation where under Ange Postecoglou and Thomas Frank, under this current weird 4-diamond thing we're doing, where you have to be on the right page with your player. You have to have relationships where you understand where he's going to go because you played so much with him. You know what he's more likely than not to do. How are they ever going to achieve that when you're playing different iterations of our midfield and our attack and our wings and our formation every week, when at the same time we're playing twice a week with 2 days traveling, 2 days rest, and 2 games? Where are the hours on the training ground for these guys to understand each other's games? And on the training ground, whenever I see training videos, it's largely a game of like one touch. I don't know what the game is called, but where they just kick the ball in a circle and the guy in the middle's got to chase it down. I don't really see that much in the way of tactical situations. Maybe that's by design because they don't want other clubs seeing what you're working on. I don't know. I've never been to to Tottenham's training ground before, but like there's a lot of problems at Tottenham Hotspur. And yes, some of them are in the personnel. Yes, some of them are the managerial tactics. But playing at home and having 4 wins in 2025 or 4 wins in 2025 is completely unacceptable for a team like Tottenham Hotspur. And it's not like Tottenham Hotspur's squad is a relegation fodder team just because we finished 17th last year, when we heard that the excuse and the justification from the horse's mouth was a deprioritization to focus on the thing that Tottenham Hotspur had told Ange Postecoglou was the priority, to win a trophy. So he did what he did to win it. That's his argument, whether you believe it or otherwise, was what he said. He didn't sit there and say that we're a relegation level squad. And we won the Europa League, by the way, right? The Europa League is a decent competition. This team has players in it that that several top teams around the world would go all out to get hold of. Palhinha would walk into most teams in the Premier League, in my opinion. Maybe not yours, but mine. Kolo Muani was a 90 million euro player a year and a half ago. Kudus. Everyone was delighted with him. Xavi Simons. I'm hearing people now tell me that Yeremy Pino is a better player than Xavi Simons. He's not a better player than Xavi Simons. The difference is that Xavi Simons is playing in a toxic environment where everybody's at each other's throats entirely, right? Not just the fans, the players. Last night, Pedro Porro screaming at Berghvall. Like, it's not a happy dressing room. It's not a happy dressing room because the results are shit. It's not a happy dressing room because the fans are at each other and at the various players. It's not a happy dressing room because we don't seem to have an understanding or time to figure out when one person moves left, does that mean I move right? Or should I fill into the 6 when Palhinha finds himself in the 10? Madness. And it's not a happy dressing room when you probably look at that game and think over the 90 minutes, Tottenham were probably the better team, right? In terms of attacking opportunities. And if it wasn't for silly mistakes, sloppy mistakes from a guy who, once he engages his brain, always melts like an ice cube, in the most important position on your pitch where you need mentality monsters and you need people that are calm under pressure. You can't have a goalkeeper in your team who melts under pressure and expect to achieve good things. You can't. But is he the priority in January? No. Does Kinsky fill me with any more hope? Absolutely not. So there's lots of things about these problems that are not Thomas Frank's fault. But I tell you what, Thomas Frank is starting to react the same way that Ange did, prickly, because in their mind, they are feeling like they are on the receiving end of criticism and impatience and frustration that didn't start with them. It didn't start with the guy before them. It didn't start with the guy before the guy. And it didn't start with the guy before the guy before the guy. It started from the Champions League failure in 2019. That's when it started. Expectations jumped well above normal. And then ever since then, we've regressed to the mean, which was an absolute guaranteed outcome. We were nowhere near that stand. We were not a Champions League potential winning team. Even though we were a good team at then, we were nowhere near it. That season, we had a very sort of up and down season relative to our own sort of short-term standards. The following season, Pochettino, just felt like he was, frustrated or didn't maybe he got too big for his boots, whatever. We'd done this for so long, and then we had this crescendo, and then there was a rug pull, to use the cryptocurrency. It flew up, parabolic, and then there was a rug pull, and most of the fan base bought the top. They paid for the top, and then we went back down here. How do we get the fans to reset their expectations? I think one way is to start by slashing the prices of the season tickets and the tickets, and reflect a team that is more in line with a project team. Let me know your thoughts. Let's have a chat. Let's say hello to the chat. That's a 20-minute monologue. Now I'm going to come to the chat. Please do smash the like button, guys, for me. Hit the subscribe.